is good, everybody out there? Thanks again for checking into another episode of Core Thoughts, the channel where we basically talk basketball. I'm doing my very first episode on the new series, Core Thoughts Film Studies, which is all about basketball culture in movie media. All right, guys, let's jump straight into it. The first video that I'm going to be doing a breakdown on is one of these movies that have got a special part in my heart. And that movie is none other than The Air Up There. Now, The Air Up There is a 1994 sports comedy movie, and the movie was actually directed by Paul Michael Glaser. Now, I'm actually going to give a little bit more information about him a little bit later on. But the movie's plot surfaces around Jimmy Dolan. Jimmy Dolan, who's played by Kevin Bacon, and he essentially is this assistant coach who had a career devastating injury that stopped his career as a player and going into the pros, and he has these sort of issues that he's trying to manage with that, and he's an assistant coach on the university team that he played for. The head coach is actually going to be retiring, and this introduces the first problem, the main premise of the story. The coach is going to be wrapping up his time as a head coach, and he's going to make his lead recommendation between two coaches. And Jimmy Dolan is really not looking on the bright end of this. Now, I'm not going to give you all the details around the plot because really, at the end of the day, I want you guys to go ahead and watch it for yourself. I want to give you a little bit of a taste. But Jimmy Dolan, at a fundraiser for the team, sees in the background on this projector screen, and there's this fantastic scene where you can see this just absolute post monster going to work, and he's just like, he gets into his mind that he's going to go to Kenya and find this player that's in this image. He ends up finding out the player's name is Saleh, and then he goes all the way over to Kenya to try and court this player to come and join his team. Now, we then are introduced to a couple of other trials and tribulations that ultimately come through and make the story up. But as I mentioned, I'm not going to ruin that for you, but it does absolutely explore the cultural differences between Jimmy Dolan's character being an American and Saleh's character and his tribe and family in a remote part of Kenya. And I thought that, you know, when I was young, I thought that that was absolutely wicked because of the fact that it introduces these different aspects of culture that me, as a Latino Australian kid, never got to see really as a younger kid. So seeing these types of movies introduced the differences and nuances in different cultures, and I thought that it was really good. It's absolutely a kid-friendly movie. It's a very fun, entertaining movie, and it does introduce a couple of different things like the differences of culture between them, and it also does introduce the context of how people can come in and try to take advantage of other people's talents and manipulate and be very controlling. And it's a fantastic story. I absolutely highly recommend that you go ahead and give it a watch. But a little bit more about the director. Now, the director is Paul Michael Glaser. Now, Paul Michael Glaser was actually an actor before he became a director. He was best known for his role as Detective Starsky in Starsky and Hutch. Now, coming more back into his directorial career, he did introduce a couple of good little movies and a couple of trash-ass movies. The three movies that I'm going to talk about is, well, The Running Man, which is a fantastic sci-fi dystopian movie. Highly recommend it. It's very entertaining. And then you've also obviously got The Air Up There, which is the movie we're talking about, and this little gem, Kazam. Now, overall, I do think that the movie had fantastic cinematography and it had really good elements of comedy in it. It was really good. I do think that the movie dates not too bad. Sometimes some of these older movies, they can come off a little bit disrespectful to different cultures and the way that they display different cultures. I don't think that this movie does that, and I do think that it actually sheds light on basketball culture in other countries. And that for me was one of the things that I really did enjoy about it as a younger player. And I'm sure that it had an impact to Africans jumping in and joining into the league. It's probably not the only thing, you know. You definitely can hear stories of players like Joel Embiid talking about seeing other professionals in his country and sort of getting this visual of what basketball was at a later age, and then ultimately changing the course of his life forever. Now, the three players that I can think of that were well-known African players, you've obviously got Hakeem Olajuwon, which if you haven't checked out my reaction to Hakeem Olajuwon, guys, please make sure you jump over and give it a watch. It's an absolute display of coastal dominance. The next player that comes to mind is Dikembe Mutombo. I mean, the man's universal. Everyone knows this man. And the other is Manute Bol. This is actually Bol Bol's father, and the guy was just an absolute tower. But I think without players of different cultures and also movie mediums like this, like film mediums like this, that introduce basketball culture and different cultures together and kind of bridge that connection, it then sort of helps other cultures be able to see and feel that they can have a part in basketball culture. It's not necessarily just exclusively to, you know, Americans. And you can see that where basketball is essentially a global game. And I absolutely love that. And I think that this movie does contribute to that fact. Now, overall, I give the movie a 4 out of 5 stars. I do think it is entertaining. I think that it does age pretty well. And for a sports comedy, it's not that bad. It is pretty good. I do think that the acting overall is pretty good. And it does definitely remind me of something like Cool Runnings. It's kind of like Cool Runnings and The Scout mixed together. If I was to say what this movie is, it's Cool Runnings and The Scout mixed together. So that's essentially gonna do it for today's episode. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the very, very first episode of Court Thoughts Film Study. It's a brand new series. I really am a big fan of movies, and I wanted to spread some love on movie media out there. So if you enjoyed the episode, please make sure you like and subscribe. And if you are already subscribed, make sure you've got that notification bell pressed, just so that way you can stay connected with your boy. If there's a movie that you think I need to do a breakdown, the CT's Film Study, go ahead and let me know in the comments. But that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you so much for kicking it with your boy. And until next time, take care of yourselves and be safe. All right, peace.